Breakout wide receivers right now on Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Breakouts Bonanza ends with Chris Harris of Harris Football, who is on this Bonanza every year. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks for I haven't worn out my welcome yet. I'm trying.
And you know what? You are also an FFT Open division manager. That is awesome. You were, I think, the first non-CBS person to sell out their division. So congratulations.
Yeah, close to. I'm not sure if that's true. Scott Fish was in there. He's got a lot of clout, a lot of sway, that Scott Fish. But I owe it all to my audience. My audience is pretty good.
Yeah,
Adam, we are graced with the presence of two of our analyst league champions. Dave won the Draftathon League last year, and Chris won the IDP League last year. So two very, very, very esteemed analyst leagues, and these are the champions.
I mean, I got to just mention how much I wanted to win that IDP League. It's been 10 years. I really, really wanted to win that league, and I put a lot of Saquon Barkley into that league last year. I'll put it that way.
And I think Joe Mixon, right? Because I know you really liked Mixon. Yeah,
I did. Yep.
Yeah, good for you. Trying to convince these guys to like him again this year, but that's a different show. Last year, some of the breakout wide receivers were Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and maybe those guys, London and JSN, maybe they'll break out again. We'll see if they can do even better. So we could start with JSN. That's one of Chris's breakouts. He has Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Ricky Pearsall. He gave me one of kind of different stages of the draft. JSN sort of early, Ricky Pearsall mid-rounds, Demario Douglas late. So let's start with JSN. Last year, he had 100 catches, 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns on 137 targets. When are you comfortable drafting JSN in a 12-team league, Chris?
I'd say like even when we're not getting points per reception, probably late second. And if we are getting points per reception, mid, maybe even early second. I loved what I saw on tape. I think there's a reason why in the second half of last year, I don't care who the Seattle offensive coordinator was. Like, I think they were on a mission to say, all right, our best receiver is JSN. DK, you can run a bunch of go routes and have your arm up in the air. At the top of his route, at the stem, there's only a couple of guys I would take in the league over JSN. He's incredibly shifty. He reminds me, Amon-Ra St. Brown has a thing when he runs. If you watch just him, his head doesn't move. He doesn't bob his head up and down. He's just so incredibly smooth. And I think it's one of the keys that defensive backs try to look at you and get a sense of when you're going to break and which direction. And Amon-Ra doesn't give you that. And JSN absolutely doesn't either. I think they actually have a lot in common in their game. It's going to be tough to extremely top that catch total, but not to top the yardage total. Certainly not to top the touchdown total. I have questions like everybody does that aren't going to get answered until we see them play in week 1 about like, okay, is Cooper Kupp more on the slot? Is JSN more on the slot? Like there's stuff to be worked out there. JSN through 2 years has been the most slot heavy receiver in the entire league. I just think he's capable of more. The difference between 2024 and 2023, in 23, he was the check down guy. He was the short area guy. And 24, he ran out of the slot a lot. But it was some of that down the field slot work, which I love. The 3 depth field of a wide receiver who, slot or not, like can run a route everywhere and be open. Questions about the offensive coordinator, questions about Sam Darnold, not questions about JSN. I'm definitely in on the talent.
And he is being drafted near the 3-4 turn. So it's just one of those guys where if you need a wide receiver and you're picking late in round 3, he's someone that's going to be staring at you and you should not hesitate to take him. All right. Ricky Pearsall is another guy that you like. We love him. I don't know. I almost feel like I'm just curious. When is everyone going to catch up on Ricky Pearsall?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it depends on where you're drafting, but I see him 8th round.
Yeah.
And that is like, okay, I think we have to try to be like realistic in our hype. He didn't play a lot. His biggest game, it was at the end of the year with Josh Jobs throwing the ball. Like, okay. It's just, if Brandon Ayuk were playing, I would like Brandon Ayuk the most. He's the most polished, the most experienced, etc. But he's not playing for the first, 6 weeks of the season, and who knows how good he'll be after that. And loved Juwan Jennings being an absolute gamer. Now in your Tim Patrick biopic, here's Juwan Jennings. We love the slow guys who are gamers. It's an awesome story. It did start to go away toward the end of last year because Juwan Jennings is, what's the word, really slow for an NFL player. He's a slow as molasses kind of guy. And Ricky Pearsall just is so obviously the little ball of lightning. He wasn't ready when he came back from the gunshot wound at the beginning of last year, middle of last year. And we heard a lot from Brock Purdy that they didn't feel like they were on the same page. It's one of those cliches that normally you throw away, but in the case of the guy who lost his training camp and beginning of a season to a gunshot wound, you kind of believe it. And once they kind of started to figure it out, you just saw like he's a threat to house it at any point. And yet he's not like some Alec Pierce type speed threat who can only run the rail, who can only, can't really run a route. You're only ever going to throw it to him deep. Like Pearsall will make some deep plays, and I'm not going to tell you I saw like an incredibly polished route tree, but I definitely saw him run digs. I saw him run crosses. I saw him run outs and be open enough. And then one missed tackle. And like, he's legitimately the combine numbers didn't lie with him. Like on film stood out as like a serious can house it from anywhere kind of threat.
Guys, we look at the ADP from CBS and we look at so just this page that we're showing at YouTube, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Chris Olave, Rome Odunze, Jordan Addison, Ricky Pearsall. Dave, those 6 guys in front of Pearsall, Deebo, Diggs, Kupp, Olave, Odunze, Addison. Do you agree with that, or should Pearsall be closer to the front of that group?
He is at the front of that group for me. And the only thing I will push back on that Chris said was that he didn't run a complete route tree. This dude was running double moves like a madman. I think he can run any route that the 49ers ask of him. I was a little nervous. I always had him ahead of Juwan Jennings because, Chris is right about Juwan Jennings too. But I had him a little bit ahead of Juwan, but I couldn't necessarily put the breakout sash on his shoulder because the 49ers are just one of those teams that doesn't throw a ton to their wide receivers. Most of the time, those wideouts, they're lucky if they average 7 targets per game. But you think about all the injuries that they have at wide receiver, and I can't help myself at this point. I think Ricky Pearsall could get off to a great start. He is so elusive. He is, if you have the chance to watch his film or even just like his highlights from week 17 and week 18, I think you'll be floored by how good he is. And that's why I'm willing to now reach for him a little bit, certainly ahead of this ADP. I think he's got a great shot to be the top target guy in San Francisco and maybe even top, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. Not bad for a guy you're getting at this ADP. You're in the hundreds, but even in like round 8, round 7, I'd be good with that.
Okay. Let's talk about your last guy here, Demario Douglas. I'm going to throw it to Jamie. You can kind of kick it off, and then we'll go back to Chris because Jamie, you've been talking about Douglas for a couple weeks now, so I think you're on board with this breakout call as well.
Yeah, Chris and I talked about this on his show earlier this week as well as a post-hype breakout candidate. Like, there's just so much opportunity. First off, he's free on draft day. Like, we did another draft today, double-digit round, took him again. I'm going to take him wherever I have the opportunity to as a 4th receiver, 5th receiver, wherever your roster build may take you. But like, slot receiver for Josh McDaniels. Like, that's all you need to know right there if you know anything about Josh McDaniels' history. But this is a kid that's going to run a lot of option routes in the middle of the field and be an easy target for Drake May, and something that I think Stephon Diggs has the most upside of this receiving core. But you're asking a 32-year-old receiver coming off an ACL tear to just all of a sudden magically forget anything that happened, just to piggyback off the 49ers conversation. Brandon Ayuk made me out till week 6. It's amazing that Stephon Diggs is as healthy as he is right now and performing the way he's performing in camp. But Douglas may still lead the team in targets. That wouldn't shock me. It might shock a lot of people thinking what the Stephon Diggs career has been, but just knowing what this opportunity is for him. So he's had some opportunities in his first 2 years to make some plays. It's been with poor coordinator, poor quarterback play, young Drake May, struggling Mac Jones, Jacoby Brissett here and there. It's just been, kind of bad situation for him. But now there's just an opportunity for him to hopefully step forward and claim this role. I hope it's not Diggs being forced into the role, the undrafted, free agent, I forget his name, who's had an opportunity to play in the slot as well, getting some opportunities.
Efren Chisholm
on the outside as well. It just feels as if Douglas is locked into this spot right now, and I hope it stays that way. So I'm really shocked that his ADP hasn't moved even just incrementally, if not more than that, because of people like us saying that he should be drafted. So I'm sure Chris is going to, piggyback on that because I know he likes him a lot.
I do. I also recognize why people hold off taking him, because the ceiling isn't very high. It's probably not a touchdown role unless he just has a really lucky touchdown season. And to be honest, unless I'm wrong, I mean, I know McDaniels wasn't the coordinator last year, but I'm pretty sure Pop Douglas played with Drake May last year, and they could not get on the same page. So I get where skepticism comes from, and nobody probably on this panel, we're talking about like a 13th or a 14th round draft pick. We're not saying congratulations, you just drafted a starter, but you're looking to catch a little lightning in a bottle. Like a lot of the times with late round picks, they're going to be on guys who are on teams where you assume the offense isn't great. Patriots were, if not the worst offense in the league last year, pretty close. And he's a very potential laden quarterback, but he's won one game and turns the ball over like crazy. Like, what you're hoping is for the big turnaround. And they're going to be 3-4 NFL offenses that are suddenly the Commanders from last year. That suddenly, like, we rule out everybody because they're going to be awful, and suddenly they're really good. And if the Patriots wind up being that offense, okay, then now in week 5, you start talking about, man, can Pop Douglas really be my flex with this high volume role in a offense that's now scoring 25 points a game when I thought they were going to score 18? That's why you take guys late, and like, again, I compare, like, a guy who goes near him in a lot of drafts, Cedric Tillman, another Cleveland, awful, terrible offense. Cedric Tillman has more just sort of baked in upside in that he's a giant person who could win in the red zone and just has an easier path to touchdowns, and probably going to have a much higher depth of target and therefore can make some big plays that maybe Douglas might not. So I probably would take Pop Douglas in that case, but I understand, like, when you're taking your 5th, 6th receiver, sometimes you're just like, let's see if we can hit a total home run. Like, Pop Douglas is probably more like a nice solid double, but his ADP deserves to be higher than it is for sure.
I don't want him to be my 8th wide receiver. I want him to be like, if I loaded up on wide receivers early in my draft and I don't really need a bunch of bench wide receivers, this guy's fine. And it's got to be a full PPR thing, because he could roll out of bed and catch 5 for 50 pretty much every week. I'd like to ease a few concerns here with Douglas. I was at the joint practice against the Commanders. He was first team all the way, in the slot all the way. A really great play with May, where May was pressured, flushed out of the pocket, threw off balance, and hit him right in the hands. It was perfect. Douglas had a nice practice. I think this is a good call. I think he's a good sleeper call. The one little thing you might want to worry about with him is that he's not a big dude. So a couple of big hits and he could be on the shelf for a couple of weeks, but I don't think that's something you're thinking about when you're taking him in the double-digit rounds, 12, 13, somewhere in that range, where he can give you double-digit PPR points pretty easily.
All right. He can also give you he can't, but I can give you a great offer for BetMGM. Because if you haven't signed up yet, why don't you do that? Thank you, Chris. Why don't you do that and use the promo code FANTASY when you sign up on BetMGM? Get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. So you download the app, you sign up and use the bonus code FANTASY, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. And you're going to get up to $1,500. You're going to get up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FANTASY when you sign up. We got more breakout names for you, including a couple who are going in the first 15 picks, but they could have amazing years right after this on FFT.
Can I get a spot real quick?
Yeah, sure, man. Hey, wait a minute. You're Dave Richard from FFT.
Yeah.
Hey, I snagged Alvin Kamara in the 4th round. What do you think?
Is it PPR?
Yeah, full point.
Hey, what a great shirt I was wearing in that commercial.
Chris, what do you think? Isn't it pretty weak that Dave even needed a spotter? You wouldn't need a spotter.
I mean, I usually don't have friends, so I gotta sweat by myself.
Also, Chris, I'm just gonna throw this out there, and you don't have to respond. In fact, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna go right to the next topic. I don't even want you to respond. I'd love to come on your podcast someday. All right, Dave, let's talk about some. Yeah, everybody else gets to go on. All right,
It's a good time.
Hosts on hosts. I mean, hosts on hosts. It's awkward. It's awkward.
I know but we're the funny one. Like we're the charismatic ones. We'd have a great podcast. Nobody would learn anything, but we'd laugh. Oh, would we laugh? All right, Dave, you have Malik Nabers and Nico Collins on
These
your
are lame. Like, I don't know if we really need to spend time explaining why people need to draft
People
them.
need to know how good Nico Collins is. He's good enough. If he were to get 150 targets, he could be the number one wide receiver.
Also, can I just mention in your defense, Dave? Like, I just did an AMA on the fantasy football subreddit today. I got 5 questions. Like, am I completely fading Malik Nabers because of his toe? Like, should I take him off my draft board? I'm not kidding. 5 different people.
What'd you say?
No, you dummies.
I don't think it's an unreasonable question because obviously there are great options there. He's got this lingering issue that might need surgery. He also has a shoulder issue right now.
Yeah, not doing that. Are we fading Justin Jefferson? Is he in the 6th round now? I don't believe in preseason injuries.
He went 11th in a draft that Jamie and I did.
But it's that kind of thinking that made you take Christian McCaffrey last year.
Sure, and I'll do it again this year. In fact, I did in that stacked league. I took McCaffrey.
Yeah,
6.
but last year McCaffrey was hurt and he wasn't practicing that much, and then they started to
So your
ramp him
advice
up.
is, if I could extrapolate here, your advice is take every injury report seriously in camp and never draft anybody who has an injury problem.
Kickers in round 1, Chris. We're just going to go straight kickers all the way through because those guys.
Can I say Andy Barron's we're doing a collab together. Andy Barron's got at the Fantasy Football Expo this past weekend. He got a draft board from a league that's been drafting since the early 80s, and they had like a paper draft board, and they're no joke. They were taking kickers in the 2nd round.
Well, take a look at this wide receiver ADP, and you got Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, and then Nabers. Do you have Nabers as wide receiver 4, Chris?
I don't think I do. No, but I still, I'm not going to argue too strongly with it. It's close. I have Puka. Nabers is like 5 or 6.
You like him better than Nico?
7. No, I have Puka 4, Nico 5, AJ Brown 6, Malik Nabers 7. AJ Brown also dead. I understand he's a hamstring. Dead.
If that little red box is next to his name, season over.
That's what I'm saying about Mixon. I'm sorry.
I mean, look, we can get serious about this. Context is obviously necessary when it comes to injuries. It's one thing if a guy was practicing and then he hamstring strain and the team's going to take it easy with him. It's another thing when a guy was in a walking boot during the offseason with multiple injuries below the knee and he still has no timetable to really come back. That's Mixon right now.
You don't know what timetable he has. They're just not telling you the timetable because they don't particularly care about our fantasy teams, but I believe they absolutely have a timetable.
Well, they should.
I don't know if it's good news if they're not telling us the timetable.
Well, they don't know you much, buddy.
Because they've never met him. All right, so let's get to a breakout that I'm glad you brought up before the show. George Pickens, breakout call for you. It was really having a nice stretch last year with Russell Wilson. Then Pickens suffered an injury, came back and kind of struggled. We've seen flashes from him, but last year he was only wide receiver 39 per game in PPR, 46 per game in non-PPR. I felt like he had a better year than that. He only scored 3 touchdowns, but I haven't gotten myself to draft Pickens, but that's not intentional. So what do you think? Should we start reaching, maybe get into the 5th round for Pickens?
I don't hate it. I would obviously prefer to get anybody around later than ADP or anything like that. But I think that Dallas is really setting up to be a big time passing offense. We don't know anything about their run game. I don't think it's going to be particularly good. Their defense is banged up in the secondary. Their best defensive player is holding out. I don't know how good they're going to be on defense, even if Parsons did play. I think Dak's going to end up throwing a lot, and CeeDee Lamb's going to get his. And Pickens just apparently moved from Pittsburgh to Dallas and became an amazing receiver. And if he's never going to get double teamed down the field, Dak's going to throw at him. And Pickens seems to have won over his coaches. And I think those two guys could end up having a lot of targets. Could it end up being something like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins last year? Or in prior years, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? Hell, it could be like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith last year. And we'd be really happy having George Pickens on our team in that case. His best numbers of his career, 1,140 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think he can get close to that yardage. I think he can score more than 5 touchdowns.
Okay, but you know the deal, just to push back on the Devontae Smith thing, you know the deal with him. We wouldn't be happy with that. He's only worth starting basically when either Goddard or A.J. Brown is out, and that was most of the year. One of those two guys was out.
That was just really
worked
last
out
year,
for
though.
him.
No, not really. It's been
Starting?
it's been,
No. Devontae
been like
Smith was a
wide
top
receiver
20-ish
30-ish.
receiver.
I mean, I have the numbers when, especially if you take out the Gardner Minshew games when they threw. I won't even do that, but he's been closer to a wide receiver 3 than starting as a flex. Yes, I just meant top 24. He's been closer to a wide receiver 3 throughout his career, or since A.J. Brown's trade, when everybody's been healthy.
He's been at least 14.2 PPR points per game each of the last 3 years, but no higher than 15.3. And yes, you're right. He's much easier to start when somebody's hurt in Philadelphia.
Also, can I just mention he's so much better than George Pickens at playing football?
Oh,
Yes.
That's true too. Yes.
It doesn't necessarily matter though, because the Cowboys, I think they've been top 5 in pass attempts like 5 years in a row or something like that. They're always throwing.
Now you explain to me why I've been starting all those Dallas Cowboy receivers other than CeeDee Lamb. Oh, wait a minute.
But okay, so you're not in on Pickens as a breakout.
I don't think it's a horrible. I can see it working out. I think his ADP is probably about right, and so I'm not mad at it at all. I understand he's an absolute knucklehead, and I don't believe because they haven't said anything mean about him in practice yet means anything. As soon as he wears something filthy on his eye black again, they'll have to talk about him. Like, this is a knucklehead's knucklehead. I'll believe it when I see it. This is one where if I needed to get aggressive on a receiver in that range, I could definitely pick somebody who's less of a moron.
A.J. Brown's dead. George Pickens is a moron. This is some show.
Well, we all can agree on that. The last point is true, right? I mean, he has a lot to prove as far as becoming a good teammate and being there for his quarterback and not swearing at fans and not yelling.
Yeah,
at
but
his
as long
coach.
as he's not getting like suspended for games because of it,
I mean,
I'm not drafting these guys because of their intelligence.
No, you're drafting. Yeah, you are drafting because you have to be very smart to be a good receiver in the league, and you are. The reason George Pickens has been a disappointment in Pittsburgh is because he's a moron, not because he's not physically talented. It's because he couldn't get on the same page. He wouldn't do the work. The only thing that he's ever done well is sideline work. And people, you knew this. You guys pay more attention to college football than I do. People who pay attention to college football were like, "This guy's poison. You don't want this guy." And the Steelers decided, "Yeah, we don't even want him to play out his rookie year. He's cheap. Get out of here." So like I'm not telling you it can't work, but if it's not going to work, it's not going to be a lack of physical talent. It's going to be because he's been a bad teammate and not a very smart football player.
He needs to grow up. Tomlin said that, no question about it. We hope he does. Dallas has been top 5 in pass attempts per game in 4 of the last 5 seasons, just to correct myself.
And that's why Brandon Cooks was such a great fantasy weapon last year.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, Pickens is better than that version of Cooks. Jamie's got Tetairoa McMillan as a breakout. Who do you like better, Pickens or Tetairoa McMillan?
McMillan.
Yeah. Jamie, you like him? You think he's going to potentially outperform his ADP by 2 rounds?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity for him to, step in and be the go-to guy for Bryce Young. I don't think it's a big stretch to say that. It's just a matter of like how good can he be. And I like to read our chat and from this morning through now, because as Heath alluded to in the tight ends breakout story, we've done 75 shows today. There's been a lot of pro con McMillan Carolina talk. Can he stand out above the rest of that receiving core, where you see Bryce Young's got a strong connection with Jalen Coker, and he definitely had a strong connection with Adam Thielen last year. And those guys are still there. And Hunter Renfrow has made some plays, and Jatavion Sanders may be a factor and could still be a run-first offense. But I just think they drafted this kid for a reason, and you're seeing it every time you see a highlight from the Panthers and reading something about what they're expecting for him, and then you see the preseason game and the things that he could do and what he should be able to do physically. Like, it wouldn't shock me if I have him too low at 21. Like, he could be a top 15 caliber receiver, So, yeah, I'm drafting him in round 4 at this point.
And the best part is that he stands out no matter where he goes, because he's 6'5", and I don't know what his weight is, but he's obviously a big dude with a humongous catch radius. He's going to win a ton of 50-50 balls. We saw him win on a deep ball in the preseason game, and he should have had a touchdown in the preseason game. Now, I don't know if he was in Mensa but I think that he's got the athletic ability to be a very quality contributor to the Panthers. I think he could lead that team in targets this year.
Okay, so we're gonna end the show. We've gone a little long here, so we'll end the show with this. I'm gonna ask you. We're looking for breakouts.
I want to hear Chris's list of morons. I think that would be great.
Yeah, well, probably the guy on this show
with me.
Probably the guy on this show that's never been on his podcast. I was gonna say. Anyway, who's got the most upside? I'm gonna be a trio. Who's got the most upside? Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Xavier Worthy.
God. Name 3 players I will not own this year.
Wow.
Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
Wilson.
Because he's the only one who I can verifiably say is good at football. The other 2 I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's got the most upside? Zay Flowers, Jamison Williams, Travis Hunter.
Jamison Williams.
Jamison.
I'll say Hunter.
And that's all I got. Chris, we learned a lot today. There's an anger inside of you that we learned about today, I think.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
You can tell you haven't. That's the first piece of evidence that you haven't been on my show because these guys are used to it.
Well, it was really fun having you on, man. This was a blast. Good way to end the breakout bonanza. Although I'm going to publish this one in all the audio places before the tight ends one, but for video purposes, good way to end the night. Thank you so much, Chris, at Harris Football, harrisfootball.com. Great stuff. Dave, Jamie, thank you. Thomas, thank you. Long day for Thomas Schaefer. He did an awesome job producing today. And we'll talk to you on tennis match, baby. That's the next time we're talking to you. Can't wait. YouTube.com/fantasyfootball today. Also, go to tinyurl.com/2025FFT and donate to the Draftathon. See you later, everybody. Have a great night, great day.